Hello. Okay, just a second, we will start. A few minutes. Okay, so we'll start now. Hello, everyone. Yes, so today our topic is about what we call overthinking or conceptual thinking. What is its source and like how to decrease it, how to make it like with less intensity.
Yes, so today
we are going to talk about it from the Buddhist perspective, about the overthinking, about the conceptual thinking. Yes, so if we talk about what is the source, or what is the reason for the overthinking or the conceptual thinking, so from the Buddhist perspective, we posit the self-cherishing mind and the self-grasping attitude, these two.
Lasso. Ani ranchinzen zeata soso tawa chimbo chewala teni nyenda nyeran changdang zeata ta nyen chow ta nyen chow la nyenda magasal jazi ni jigni lebore.
Yeah, so based on this self-cherishing attitude, so we develop two different kinds of attitude. First is that, for example, the one that are dear to us, the one that are close to us, the dear ones to us, our friends, family, and so forth. So we develop the attitude of having attachment towards them, or like seeing them as very, very close, like kind of partially. And for those who are like far from us, so based on that self-cherishing attitude, so we develop that kind of attitude of anger or like aversion towards them. So based on the self-cherishing attitude, these two kind of different attitudes are being developed naturally.
Ani tanda drap chonyem chonyiche nyeng chola do champerwa ta drag chola jedam penite chawdang governi atsosem kangi shuchi chegore.
Yeah, so based on these two different attitudes that we develop, the attitudes of being attached towards those who are dear to us or close to us, and the attitude of being like developing aversion towards those who are far from us, or those who are like not our friends, family, those who we can even consider as enemy. So based on that, a lot of problems to our mind like come naturally.
Data solo control launchi, chato launchi, cosolo di pojana gavache, tenichi, and chola, there's a mandrina makivache, and the Nargian that tenichini, chaba mosso mombochioni, same come gungoni, same batamcha, makipazo, or is a worry.
So based on these two different attitudes, as we said before, so kind of being very, very attached to those who are close to us, like if something bad happens to them, so feeling like that is not right, like having like this kind of feeling of like partially based. And for those who are like far from us, that those who we consider as enemies, so we develop anger, we develop this kind of aversion, we develop this sense of like that if something bad happens to them, like we develop kind of happiness, like kind of happy that something bad happens to them. So a lot of problems based on these two attitudes come.
Also, tani del tablam drawo chila ta sem kam lolo chia tablam chola nga so chamse gomya ta chang kai chimbore. Chamse gomya ta chang kai chimbore kar zeni nga so so tsawa chimbo chang chang chini rani baji ke chete chi je de nga so deki yong mares jamba la pa chamse tenji gomna ngusu jamba le pen tong drawo job de zon drawo chi gore ta ton so deki tsama tani yong gore zeni na chu shetan chi re.
Yeah, so like if we look from the Buddhist perspective, so basically there are methods in order to make our mind more happy or like more calm, more relaxed. And one of these methods we can say that it is the method of developing love and compassion. So by developing love and compassion, so this is kind of the opposite of our normal attitude. Our normal attitude is that we think only about ourselves, like I just want to be happy and I just work for the welfare of myself alone, but this is not a way to really to establish or to gain happiness for ourselves. So if we look from the Buddhist perspective, if we practice love and compassion, so from the from the direct effect, of course it will bring benefit for others because we'll practice this sense of love and compassion towards them. And also for ourselves, it will also help us to gain this kind of peace of mind and happiness.
So tete ngupo nitso le tana ya kyoro so tata nyawj mi jamba le chamte che mi jamba le ropa che mi jamba le yapo che tini tel tropo ma yore kangi chena ropo mombo che yore mi tsama yapo sedre teli dote so chikbo ma to salo matan le ka kanri che de na kinzo na le mi ta me wata kati na jat so marin ro ata tini kangi marin ro among pento me ata kinzo na ne pele na ha ko re.
Yes, so also if you look about like the reality, like how things are in the reality, so people who don't have love and compassion and only like focus on themselves, like only I want to be happy or I only work for the welfare of myself alone. So usually these people are without any friends, they have a lot of enemies, if they have like any kind of problem so they don't have someone to help them. These are like, if we see like directly like in the society how things are going. And people who do have love and compassion, sorry, maybe I confused. People who don't have love and compassion, they have like this kind of problems. And people who do have love and compassion, so they have usually a lot of friends if they need some help. So people come to help them. So this is like from the very, very normal point of view, we can see these effects of love and compassion.
So on the ranchinze mayon vi tamshi lenda namba jongna le tomba ni zaya chi shiri yore.
Yes, and also another kind of method in order to kind of to decrease the sense of self-cherishing attitude that cause the problems in our life. This is the yeah, this is like the emptiness.
Ta tomba ni zaya de kare shego rezina zu pa ngaso mata ma ke pi kemnan chatsan yod de wala ti sona mani pa chi shego yore. Sel sona mani pa ta ki kam chi glaso pa tande ngaso pa ta de na gangan ji yod de wala se sona ngaso mi zaya de kam chi lindi pa la te ni ta pe na sankam chingkam menkam longkam je che ni na shi ta namki kam te kam chi le te ni pom dag zaya de chum yo res.
Okay, yes, so basically, yes, so when we say emptiness, so what do we mean by this? We mean that, for example, if we look at person, so when we just look at person, so there is person that we can pause it and say that this is him and this is her and so forth. But if we really look inside and if we really kind of try to search and look for this person, there's nothing that we can point on and find. And so what is this person basically that we talk about this person? Like each one of us is person, of course, but what kind of constitutes this person? This person is being merely labeled upon the 6 different kind of elements that constitutes that constitutes it, which are the elements of the elements of earth, water, fire, wind, space, and primary consciousness. So these are the 6 different kind of elements that the person is being designated upon them.
So the po the chashi test ke pena sha tan ripa la so pa sa jong kam ze gore.
Okay, so yeah, so what does these elements mean? So if we look like more particularly, so we say that under the element of earth, we can say that they are like the meat, the flesh, and the bones, and so forth.
Anteni lomba chak la so pa lombi rik tel cheng kam ze gore.
Yes, and all the different kind of liquids in our body, all the blood in our body. So falls under the element of water.
Ani chok rik tel men kam.
Yeah, the kind of the element of warmth in our body. So it falls down under the element of fire.
Wigla tengo son ta wig so long kam.
Yeah, for example, the breath that we breathe and so forth. So this falls under the element of wind.
So ta tini zipo na le tonsha yogo gore tonsha tsamal nam ki kam ze gore.
Yes, and also like the different kind of we have in our body different kind of spaces. For example, space in our mouth, in our body, like we have empty spaces. So this falls under the element of space.
Tani saulo tanga ga nam shi gore tel na saulo tanga ga shi ba chi gore tel nam shi kam shi ze gore.
Yes, and also the primary consciousness. So what does it mean? It means like that kind of element in us that think or like kind of think about the different kind of things in our life. This falls under the element of primary consciousness. In total, we have 6 elements.
So that te trick tel teni nga so dak se at te so ya chok pa chi teni chom jo chi reze gore.
Yes, so based on this kind of 6 elements that kind of gather and a kind of collection, so based on them, there is that self or person that we talk about.
So yana yang ti re le tsi sona da arese na mares. Ta te so tsin di on di da ze ya chi yo res. So ta pa yo ala tsi sona menye pa chi la tomba ze dia ta ni ti ya gore.
Yes, so what does it mean that we say emptiness or like the emptiness of the self? It means that in general, like we can say that there is a self, like that we can say that this is him, this is her, and so forth. But if we look in each kind of these 6 different elements, there is nothing that we can like look inside and search and like pause it and say like this is the self or this is I or this is her, like within all the 6 different kind of elements that we just went through now.
So ta so rang go le pont and jon china chim kam trick le teni so trawa yimba na kam re ni ma tsini so gomja no re ni nga ta kan du sa ni gedang tsi de na so to pa lang jo an chi ni dang zhen de ma shi chong ri rang chin zhen de shi chong ri chwa ten ji song go re.
Yes, so basically what is the practical aspect of it? It means that in the daily life we can really kind of do meditation and habituate ourselves by examining in these kind of 6 different elements. We can really try to search and look like where is the I, like that is there, like whether there is real I. And of course, like as we said, there is nothing that you can look in these 6 different kind of elements and say that this is I, or like to put your finger on and say this is I or this is the self. So if we really get habituated to this kind of thinking that there is nothing of these different kind of elements that constitute the body and the mind, that we can pause it and say that this is I or this is the self, how it will benefit us? Naturally, it will going to bring down this very strong sense that we have of self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping mind, which cause the different types of problems that we explained at the beginning of the lesson.
Then danzen de ma te rang chin zhen de ma chong rin ro na ni do charger dans la so pa chong rin ro ni sem de ma lo re on di sem le de ki ma to sem na ni kang che ni te nyon rin ro re.
Yes, so as we said, if you bring down the sense of self-cherishing attitude, the sense-grasping attitude, so the problems that come based on them will also decrease and go down, which are the problems of high attachment, anger towards other people, and it will also naturally bring much more greater sense of calm mind, relaxed mind, like we have much less problems and so forth.
Tani ni patel tanda na to yon ton da jamba kare je yo rezena da so kati gedang control mambo lon de na ni zupo lonka menyon ba zo reze ore.
Yes, and also, so what is the second different root of the overthinking on conceptual mind, right? This is the topic of the lesson, like the different kind of causes of this kind of conceptual mind, overthinking that we have that disturbs us. So what is the second kind of root? The second kind of root of it is that we get angry a lot. Based on that, we have like this problem.
Sonza ti sem kam lonka manyo mondi ti longa nasa zini katina nafto mombo le semba makipag tanda nafto mombo te le ongoreze ore.
Yes, and also like because we are being angry, so based on this anger, so the wind element in our body is not balanced, like it is not proportioned, it is not even. Based on the fact that it's not even, so there's all different kind of like a lot of thinking, excessive thinking, conceptual thinking, overthinking. So it comes based on this kind of anger, not having balanced wind in our body. Then all this kind of conceptual thinking come naturally.
So tenetati lonka myombala tapshin rawo nafto majawala tapshi karason reziti lopo yin gunzo kanal bungjong gumbi tamandawa jend chikson reketan tringjes kanan tapshi tajaya.
Yes, so what is the method in order to balance the wind in our bodies? The method is presented by Master Vasubandhu, which wrote the Abhidharma Kosha, and in this text he writes about 6 different kind of methods, which depends on the breathing meditation. But we are going to present only the first one.
So ta te nabje gomjawa taran re gomjawa langa so vuk changa dani gomjawa ton chigore.
Yes, so the first one, the first one is what we call the counting breath meditation.
So tanga so nabje gomjawa ton detan de tagarandri supondri lolo che japta so ya chambo che chapata so lolo ja ni lolo deni tani gomjawa sa mukpa ta ka mugore ziti vuk te chalo pa ndoala chu ndo seance yonala ni tani pa ndoala sam tani ya chu pa changa jabgore.
Yes, so how we do this meditation, we just sit as we do like normally meditation, the back straight, the shoulders even, and the focal object of meditation, what we need to focus on, is the breath itself. So we count the breath by, for example, we inhale, 1, we exhale, 2. We do it up until we reach 10.
Chupart satani angoni satani chini soso kamanga detona che detona yona chete cheka devona tani changa jani ta cheli mawa matsani angoni sa ta tani che atal kar gupa yorezena mombo yatsa androna semba jamba yandro ninga yoreze vore gomna tembo machani.
So yes, so what we do is that we do this kind of set of 10s, and if we can do, for example, for 5 minutes we can do this set of 10, like 10, like focusing on the breath, like up until reaching 10 for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, how long we can. This is good. And yes, yes, and the reason that we don't, for example, we don't count until 20, 30 and so forth, that if we count until this number, so naturally our mind will kind of be distracted and will go to some other focal object. So we count until 10.
Chu ni zini ya ti chambal de dina se ma chiwa nal joya ninga yoreze ore ma se myom joya.
Yes, and also if we count just until like 1 or 2 and so forth, so our mind will become very, very bored, like we'll have like we won't have like we'll become bored and then like or sleepy and so forth, and our mind like will also like not be focused on the object.
Atade gom japton de lapo ya pe lapo rela te vuk nyombale shu pengo sa chorso yidang jondar cheta chamashi kyo maritani vuk ta ya te jai yo sa de tani chika mar nabjing vuk kanjin rogo na tani chini pa ching joala chi sa chi yo ala ni o tani cheroche.
Yes, and also so yeah, what you need to do is you need to focus on the breath, but not like having like kind of artificial breath in the sense of like having like very strong breath or something like this, just like usually as we breathe, so focus on that.
Atani chi gomja to chi pa de tere ta ni pa te yan vuk reta vuk jisen roazine vuk jeton la saulo ta ni yan gomja to chi yore.
Yes, and so this was the first type of meditation. The second type
and that changa tero changa la reta ni pa te vuk jewat rotant.
Yes, so the first type of meditation is the counting breathing meditation. This was the first one. The second type of meditation is called the following the breath meditation. And basically what we do is we follow how the air that we breathe going through our body.
Tate vuk jikton ro te kanri she ore zite koshia na jma tonga so tindi jik yona mena pata go na kapon chiri ta wuk ta tsaching no wong nga zo zupo no ne wuk ta ma andro ni ta kamba ta so na ni pa ta ni sa to lo pa nyonan to kanda rina ndomba kan tinji pa gyo yo re zevore.
Yeah, so yeah, we follow how like the air that we breathe is going through our body, and like whether the air that we breathe is actually like going through that way, like in that way through our body or not. This is a bit hard to tell, but this is the instruction of meditation. So basically, what we do is that we breathe and and the air that we breathe. So we think about how it's going through our body, through the neck, through the spine, through the legs, through the soles of the feet, and how it goes out even from the soles of the feet to the ground. And if like we imagine it like going for a short distance, so we can imagine that it going like for this kind of distance.
Pitch check ni meter ni rao tinji yin sar. Pitch yo. Pitch check tone pitch check rina meter ni.
Yes, so yeah, we can imagine that it goes like through our feet, like for this kind of distance of like one finger or like half of our feet. Yes, like just like Genla is exemplifying. And if we imagine that it goes like more farther, so we can imagine that it goes like even for like 1 arm span, like 2 meters, like out of the feet to the ground, the air that we breathe.
Ani wu pa tang di kana ni pa tang di ta chik ba ton nan to kan de jina meter ni rao de ji gu yo re se ore.
Yes, and also the same like when we exhale the air that we breathe. So when we exhale, so we imagine how the air that we breathe is going out through the nose, through the mouth, from our body. And if we imagine that it's going like through a short distance, so we can imagine that it's going also like to this kind of distance. Or if we imagine that it's going like more farther, so we can imagine that it's going like for the distance of 1 arm span, like this, or 2 meters, like whatever you want to imagine.
Matati wuk koro wuk rotong de tinji yin song sa ta gom ja go di chere zi yang zupo lolo cheni tinji ja go yin bari tinji cheni wuk de tet sen te yon di tinji cheni kanani mu ki tan ba tinji chin ro yo pan ro on di nana ni pan ni tinji chin ro yo sam ni te kyamba la sem tan ni tinji jamba sam lo kyoni matani te kyamba tan ya ko ti se jirin bo kaze do de top top chi gom ja tere wuk le teni.
Yeah, so this is the type of meditation. Of course, like we need to have the body relaxed, like in a relaxed position. And what we do is that we think about how we exhale the breath, how we exhale how we inhale the air that we breathe, how it's going through our body, the movement through our body, how we exhale the air that we breathe, how it's going out from the body. And this is the only thing that we need to focus on, just on the movement of the breath through the body in and through the body out. And this is the only thing that we need to focus the mind on. Anita Kyampala, Migna, Anita.
Tanda Mupata Chanjari, touching Nimbati, Changa, Tombo, Changa, Chambala Mugora, Nipata Tanda Ujua, the Chambala Mugamata Jamba, Saunatama, Gom Chakamara.
Yes, yes, so this is the only thing that we need to focus on and not think about any other thing during this type of meditation.
Hotel Tanda Jisendrova Gomja Tonta, so Gom Shimishi Omar, so Kate, Basso Chetonaro, Tani Tizok Corsoso, Katina Tizo, Kamangamagomato Nandri, Yarimbo Kamachazari Desa. Then reach the Parishitel Comchalia or Comchale wanted to come Jab in a Sembalo Shuch on Rore, Sembalo Chot in Nato Ramjan Gendroa Imbari.
Yes, so this is the meditation that we need to do. And when we do it, so we need to practice ourselves like whenever we have time, or like whatever duration we can do. So if we can do it like for 5 minutes, it's great. So if we'll practice to do it like time after time after time, so we'll be habituated like with this kind of habit, then it will be, it will naturally like, it will make our mind like much more relaxed, and also it will make all this kind of different ruminating thoughts, the conceptual mind that disturbs us, this overthinking. So it will decrease it also slowly, if you'll get this kind of habit with this meditation.
Last Tani somebody carreziti Jokpa theatre chate or in Jokpa theatre, Matso Lond the Zuponalma, Jani, Goniba, County Partakaina, London, Chimagimbaze, Gonatan, Pat Samali Capdeo, Pachi Capa Tigalateni, Zupol Trotteroata, Trauma Teroatani, some Pentoche, Pansolo, no Pacha, Long Lecat, Tenichu Resevore.
Yes, and the third kind of meditation is called placement. So what does it mean, like this kind of meditation? So it means that the wind in our body like we can think about the wind in our body in terms of the oxygen or like the different gases, like the air that we breathe that goes through our body. So we should, in this type of meditation, we should think about the effect of the kind of air that is in our body. What is the effect in our body? For example, whether the air that is in our body, like it makes us like warm, it makes us to feel cold, whether it harms us or whether it like have certain kind of benefit us or like make us feel good. So all the different kind of effects of the air that we have in our body. So this is what we need to meditate and reflect upon.
Hotel tanda they gom yapti yang tagarante nanje gomni tanda pembata no patantani trovata chanla so pale saulotani tani gomjani de na yang de lonyon bala chipingore sekore.
Yes, and also this kind of meditation, it will help us to balance the wind in our body, right? Like we talked about how the wind in our body, like the air in our body is not balanced, and therefore we have all these kind of different problems. So, yes, if we do this kind of meditation, thinking about the different aspects, the different results or effects of the wind or the air that we have in our body, like how it affects, how it gives the effects of like us feeling cold, us feeling warm, us like having kind of it harms our body sometimes, like maybe, I don't know exactly what to elaborate about it, but what that it also like can benefit us sometimes. So if we meditate upon it, it can help to balance the wind in our body.
Laso gom japton sambatri ta jepatelo yang tagaran gom japton chikpa imba chi saulo tang de kar reziti nga so ko nan liyo pita so zupu nang long de saulo tang gore ta osenji ze go mari tel saulo tani ta te chapche ke zel saulo tani te chapche te sardir ta chirdir ta meder ta londer te jonwi ti jetan ani tanda zikirdir ta chigirdir ta jogirdir ta rechi dir tem jonje ki dir jete dibya yandi ni choja ji ma to teli pa se sona marawa tendri le saulo tandre
Teli pa se sona marawa
ta chi da tsia na ko so pombo tendri ze gyak ke so pa no lonchum jo chi res teli jamba lonze ya chi o mare se so ni bando chi res.
Yes, okay. So the fourth kind of meditation is called the investigation or examination. And what we do in this type of meditation is that we look at the wind, or like we can say like more particularly the oxygen that we have in our body, and we examine it in the sense of what it is being composited of, like what is the manner of its establishment. And the manner of its establishment is that just like every other thing, so it is based on, like if you talk from the Buddhist perspective, it is composited from 8 different kind of particles, we can say. And these particles is the particle of earth, particle of water, particle of fire, particle of wind, particle of form, particle of smell, particle of taste, and particle of tactile object. So it is quite similar to the meditation that we presented about like searching for the self in the different elements of the body, in the sense that if we look like in the different particles that composite the wind or like the oxygen in our body, so there is no oxygen that we can find that is not being composited by any kind of the different 8 particles that it is being composited from.
Lasso. Tani te chion de cheza gom jap ton tani mandawa jendre chi lo po yin ga tanjam zo son tani kyo so gom jap tobna te go lonja wo rezer tani parab cheni vjeta pa chi kamachatsore parab cheni gom ni ro nan ko re tem na ka chik te gom ni de nan ko re sama vjeta parab cheni ro mata na te kar chena chindu.
Yes, so this is the different type of meditation that we presented that is being extracted from the text of Acharya Vasubantu, which composed the text of Abhidharma Kosha. So these are the 4 different kind of meditation. So the gombrere ani pangripchana penatang po ni pas.
Jiba parte chi kamachu gom ni ro nan ko re tem ni koro unjong chi potanda changa se chi bo gom ni chi se chi tsu gom jang nan ko re te kya ba shramdu.
Yes, and as for this 4 different kind of meditation, so if you can meditate like in turns or like one after another, for example, I'll meditate now 10 minutes about the first type of meditation of counting the breath meditation, then I'll meditate about the second one, about following the breath meditation and so forth. So if we can meditate like in these like in order, so it will be good, like 10 minutes and so forth. If we cannot do it and we just want to meditate on one particular type of meditation, for example, counting the breath meditation, it's also great.
Aso tani tanda tani do chigre tani tanda parche tani do isare tani tachi dal ke pache ton kyo son samsam ke pare che ta yapo yore so so ngazia ta kawandu samni ngazia ta ngo mashina pashoni kyon sama pashoni yong gyo na shani so so ran kyon zia ta kyon ngo mazini tani ye son so so ta tsini ngazia ta kanji je tachi tsi ton chi she son kam chu ko tani ta gedang ga samlo tanda te sem kam pen to yore.
Yes, and also for the meditation of searching for the self that we presented at the beginning of the lesson, like where is the self if we try to look at it in the different elements that is being composed of. So it is also has a great benefit.
Asa tani ngai jua ta tani ki samjai tani kyo so chwa chile no chi tanga so pa lam ni kar china yaqan ti ta re ro ti so ti ketan ti chwa chile zu tere.
Yeah, so basically this is the lesson itself. So if you have any other questions that you want to ask, so with regards to the lesson or not necessarily with regards to the lesson?
Could you repeat the 8 particles?
Yes. אני קונגין מעלת דורזה גרטוגי קונגפו אני נאי יאנגרט שלבנה דיגרפס.
Yimber, yeah, kinje shik.
Okay, so these are the earth, water.
So the 4 elements, or 5 elements, all the elements?
For the earth, water, fire, and wind. These 4. And the form, the smell,
Form,
smell, taste, and tactile object.
Tandi ti de ge zia ta na chu na la nga zo zi chen kan ji na tu chum re re sin song tu. Ina ta cer ki na zi ge ge ce mu du zi du zi mo bo shu che du zi tu ta cer na jin da na ba chu li na da ti jip cha yo ma ro.
Shibja.
Jip cha ti yo ma ra ge ma to ma cer ki na zi kya da chi ce du zi ndo.
Ale, tenang chu ina shibja tende.
Yo ma ta da ge ta ma to yo ma.
Yes, so yes, for like if we look from the Buddhist perspective, so we say that every different thing is being composed out of these 8 different kind of particles. So, but if you look from the science perspective, so of course it says that everything is composed from much more different particles, like 100 and so forth. So, from the Buddhist perspective, it is not that detailed with regards to the how like thing is. Yes.
You talked about finding yourself in the 6 elements, but can't it be a couple of elements? I didn't really understand that. Like, can I find myself in the earth element at one point and then in the what? Like, if I'm doing meditation on this on the 6 elements, do I focus myself on one element, or can I just go with it?
Like you mean like whether you can find yourself like in sometimes you say like you can find yourself in the earth element, sometimes in the water element.
Yes,
like whether it's possible.
Yeah. And like, what does it say about me if I find myself more in the wind element or something like that?
אני קונגי תראה את הקריירה שלה, אני פנה את דקטו צל, סרווה גומטנטה. אני את סוסו פנה את קם צ'וגיר בה.
דגמי פגום תונדרה.
דגמי פגום תונדרה. אני את דגמי פגום בקלסו, אני פרנה סוסו אני גומטו, אני צ'פה צ'טו, אני פרנה אני סקמי סר samlo tang na digirpe, yamena samsam na chukami, samlo tang na digirpe, ani te tang pore. Ani nibate, perna te kersi kongi tsorote, ani nga samsam la, perna nga kansa te lunkam tenderwa shukchewa yore. Nga tende sorna ani te digimare tende dabakon. Tende sans.
Te nga ni rancho mundo tendirum. Tanda kam chuk goni dag zedeta dag mepa joftondri. Te gom jap te tendi samlo tang joma. Omuyo nitsolo pala sonda ngi shata chala sopa ngari zina mari sonsam sankam nga yin sa yo mari shata chala sopa nga mari sankam go chumjo de shata chatrwa.
Okay, so yeah, basically the meditation is about like
tanda the meditation ran la pyo mari kom gyab ze ma kipa che sikri
Yeah, so this kind of Genla now told me like not to say meditation even, like to say like analyzation. This is kind of a process of examination like of the self. And this process of examination is like kind of the selflessness process of examination. So, for example, if we try to examine the element of earth, like we said, like the flesh in our body and so forth, or the meat in our body, so there is nothing that we can point on and say like this is I in this kind of element. If we really look and examine and we try to investigate like where is the I in this element of the earth, which is like the flesh in our body and so forth, there is nothing that we can point on and eventually and say like this is I.
Lossor te tanda te sam kande sankam dogma imba noje chingam da lonka da menkam da na so tsama da mares mai sonsa da zia de te sona mundu la wor.
Yeah, so just like the earth element, so as for the all different types of elements, like the element of water, the element of wind, the element of fire, and so and so forth. So there's nothing that we can, and if we really try to look for, there is nothing that we can eventually find and say like, this is the self, like this is the.
So what's he's saying that we are none of those things. We can't like the flesh, the bones, the air we're breathing, like and the space between in our mouth or so. What's he saying that it's not I, like we are not related to all six of those elements. It's like if my soul is not the same thing as my bones and flesh, and that's I understood it right.
Okay, I understand. Yes, so אני kan så så ani ferna te ngaso come to rere ngaso
Maris yes are
ani te tampo de kachati ani kacha ni pata carrera sana ani te ngamaina ani perna dag seretani te come to te main pa ani dag shen bashig yorepes
rere tate dag jamba chi yore zena come to ya chopa la teninga zeninga so na to la chi sha gore tenrin ro chi ma to teli jamba yo maris ke come to di marco ke sama chama me mulom na kam na shima teli jambi ke kan zeora teli jambi ke kan teli jambi ke chi yo maris o ma ta shira na sondo teli jamba yo maris so so te yan di pa la teni nga ze ya chi kacha she de ya so de tin jen de ni ta pan se te so chama chi yo ni yo res yana pa ze son din nye ke men jo chi ta chi it's a demo knowledge
Yes, okay. So as for you asked like two questions, right? Like the first one was that like whether we are not none of these different kind of elements, right? So the answer is not like there is nothing that we can say that this is me like in these different kind of elements. And the second question was like whether there is like kind of different self that is kind of different for these kind of different elements that I can identify myself with, right?
Yeah.
So as for the answer of this question is that there is self which is dependent, which is merely designated upon the six different kind of elements by our conceptual mind that kind of designate the self upon these six different kind of elements. And what does it mean? It means that there is self in the sense that there is self that is eating, that is swimming, that is talking, that is doing the different activities. There is self that we can say like that is the person or that is the self. But it means that if we really look, like there is the self like which is just merely labeled on upon the six different kind of elements. But if we investigate, there is no self that we can find. This is the meaning. And we can also compare it to the example of like watching a movie. Like anite longintane anite. Te kerengi anite petende shakson te longintavan.
Longin knowledge tan pata de ti tsama topping all the time chi chaora pa ti sona chi omar ti na jinga zo yang topping all cha sa yor zo de ti ta tsama saulo ta ne ti yang ti sona ndere ze an zu zu se me a da me pa te ni chi saulo ta de ore na jib cha shu ta kal ka borwa
So yes, so he also like gave the example of the movie. So the example of the movie is that when we see a movie that like there are like the different actors on the screen that we can say like this is him and this is her and so forth. There is that. But if we really look inside, there is nothing that we can say like the actor is like really there or like this is like the
That Tangi Patra was on the Churus some so to choose the Korean some series, also stick sound.
Te kerang gi.
Nazia the Catherine to Chicheta.
Te karere.
Catherine, the ones in Chicheta.
Yeah. So if you try to identify the self, so what do you feel like? What is your thought about the self? If you try to look for the self, so what do you think about it?
Me, if I look about myself, I feel like I have things that define me, or a family, or hobbies, friends, life, what I want to do. Like that's what I feel that identifies myself. But I can understand that it's my it's my mind like saying those things, and if I can dig in deep, I can detach myself from all those things. I understand that, but like on a daily basis, if someone asks me like, "Who are you?" I'll tell them about my hobbies, my family, where I came from, my religion, all such things.
Also, eine Konferenz so. Te pelan nga serote te karelesana te pela te nga gacho te nga lanang mio te nga so nie te yoche damida te so tandra shukchen po tende tanda po te mozin chegio tende dapa so.
You chat so.
Mara te kansola.
Ta lakpa the ni lakpa ringare.
Okay, so
Lakpa the ni lakpa ringare.
So now we ask you like whether if your hand is you.
If my hand was me?
If your hand is you, like if you're your hand.
Okay, so like what? How will I say?
Tangatsu kecha rakpan chicheta ni tombo the ngai sam gundu mundu. Namjani so dulo the ngai sam gre sam gomari.
Yeah, so now yes, like for example, like if we talk like very like on a course level. So our clothes, like is it me or not? Like in general.
In general, when I wear them, they're part of me. Yes, you can say you're part of me. But when I don't wear them, so they're not related to me.
Ani nga te zokianto, te nie chashe ta pochagi. Ina te nga makiana te nga tandelo yomarisa.
Chetan, the ni chashi in sam ngai in sam ye se yomari pache dulo the ngai in sam ye se kan yomari. Ti na je pat the ni dulo mai bi so chashi ta sam ta ni lakpa the ni chashi in sam ba chi mung ngai in the pache sam go yomari. Just as I'm not some good.
Yeah. So also like you said like about your clothes, right? That this is like kind of part of you in a way, right? But you will never. There is no one that will never say that the clothes is me, like I am the clothes or something like this. And just at the same manner. So when we take the example of our hand, so there is no one will say that I am the hand. Someone we can say that the hand is part of me, but no one's saying like I am the hand.
Yes.
What this song or chashi zeti now je combat a lakpa tango tanri chi dengi in some nazia chi jamba chi yona mato tetsu atso lolan kelen lakpa nga ingo nga in sam zenye se parche yomari pena serpa so nin jebo loko lakpa jebo kamba lango yancho jebo loya tashi chi yora member jebo che otite ni chala chingra wo chi mato nga imba te samlo koro yomari.
Yes, and also we can extrapolate this kind of analyzation for the different parts of our body. Like you can say like the head, like the legs, the chest, and so forth. So we can also say the same thing. Like all the different parts of our body, we can say that these are parts of me. But we cannot say like I am the head. There is no one probably that will say like I am the head, I am my chest, I am my legs, and so forth. And also like in the same manner. So these days, like the scientists or like different doctors, so they try to kind of switch or like to, how should I say it, like to install or like to exchange like parts of body like within oneself or like different surgeries and so forth. So it's the same manner. So no one says like this is like I am this leg that is being exchanged like to my body or something like this. Like this is kind of part of me. Like. So.
Jea menjo the Catherine to Sixavlochiton, the Pache Yomar, some at the Jea Rona Jet Tacher, Cholandoni, Go Cholandoni, Jegi and Bezin, a Jekan Chirong, as a Pesha, you Dada Jetuyona, Nazungo Jebolocore. Menganon Johnny Takum go to Jebomal on a question drone, those in a go Jebolocrangazo. me jesare kyoro
Ale, that's all.
kyoron de chigli tiksona ning de jebo malona kyo shinro gre ni jebo loko imbeze ke jebo lokrowa
Ale, that's all.
na so jebo lokrowa menga nandro ni mombo jebo lo devora yore
That's all.
nin jebo lo nin kima jebo lo ni loa jebo lo ni kamba jebo lo so de zupo chaji kanin de china ta te jebo malona kyo shinro sare zana je achi yona nga so jegre la ore jebo lo ayona kamba de ma cheni jamba chi yan to ayona to yungures kamba de trolandora
Yes, and also like for the different parts of our body, we can say basically, again, like saying like that we can exchange it all. Like if you want to exchange like the legs, like our kidneys, our hands, even our head, or like our heart, like we can exchange all like the different parts of our body.
karsi je yona chashi kari na kyo so je sare ta je samare
Tacher Karina just
majina kyo sare ta je yimbe la na yin la sare mai la sare patrina kyorong zupo chashi chi kari na lakbai na kambai na goina kyoro menga nan ro ti jebo lo na ma to kyo shinro sare majina kyo shinro sare ke je yimbe la na ke jebo lo ko yimbe
yes. So now Gena is asking a question. So for example, if you're going to the hospital and then like we are asked like whether, for example, if you are dying now, like for example, we are being told now that we are going to die. So and if we don't want to die, so we need to change like our head or like our heart or whatever part of our body, like we need to change it. So if this is the case, will we replace this whatever part of our body or that we will not replace it? What do you say?
Yes.
yes re te yes in re te samonding zupu chashi kan yo ngare samgo mare je yo re samgo ngai na je chmya so yin na je che yo mara te ko sa na tsaro nga zo tsaro ni ngare samgo yo mare ni chashi chigmat.
Yes, so therefore like all these different parts that we will say that we will replace, so we cannot say that this is the eye because like eventually we will replace it and it will just go into waste and so forth. Because if like there is I that we will replace, it will not be I. Like we cannot identify ourselves like with I that we will replace, right? Because then there will not be any I. Like so, therefore there is no I like that to replace. So we cannot say like that the parts of our body that we will replace, like these are the I.
So that in the zupo we chashi kan le tachi kon kam tu se chashi le tsi sona nga ze ya ching zu zu sa recommendus nga mendus tsi sona amindus topi ta sa ngol ndus ni na chu ga tomba nyeta sena tomba nyeta mata ma sena da yuta se sona da meze de aditir.
Yes, so therefore like there is no part of our body that we can actually point on and say like this is I and so forth. And this is like the kind of method of seeing the self in the different parts, like and the method of like meditating about emptiness. So if we really look like in the different elements that constitutes the body, there is nothing that we can say and pose it, and after searching we can say like this is the self.
So that and that no chu na tri ke no ni chu lu kanga na nga ze ya de kar re de nyong ke nga ta shen jong ke nga ze ya de kar ze nga zia de shu chu lu tsama yo sa re nga ze ya de zi de na so go changar ger ta dan zan la so pa ran chin zan la so pa tsama chong rin ro ya de li shu peng yo sa re.
Yes, and also like this kind of method of searching the eye or like asking like what is the eye and so forth, this is something which is being very highly valued or highly appreciated in all the different kind of religions. So this method of trying to search for the self, it is really, really beneficial for decreasing the different kind of disturbing emotions that we have in our life, the arrogance, the self-centered attitude, the self-grasping ignorance and so forth. So this kind of method really, really helps to decrease this kind of different disturbing emotions that we have. About the fourth meditation, how exactly should we do? Okay, so Jennifer Yu is asking about the fourth meditation. How exactly should we do to inspect or examine the 6 elements of our body? For instance, how do we examine the element of water? אני גומתן שיפתה. גומתן שיפתה. ante kapsu te ngaso lupote te kandes te kamchukte takche chegore perna ngaso And so countries te chukam te takche chegore sa.
Mare gom kam trik ziyate ta gom tam ziyate lokareta.
Yes, this is a different type of meditation, like the 6 elements in our body, like what we talked about. So this is not related to the fourth meditation.
Kam trik ziyate tomba nyela kipache tanchiri tanda vjet ziyate gom gyap tanchiri tini lokare.
Yes, so about the 6 elements, like when we try to examine the self in the 6 elements, so it is related to the investigation with regards to the emptiness, and it is not related to the fourth type of meditation, which is like the proper meditation, which we explained about. Also, Stav is asking, what is the wind element, and why is it attached? Why is it affected? Sorry, by anger? The lunkam serete karere ani the karchene lunkam serete the control the shuken te bashigir.
A longo kshikete ya.
The karchene te controte the lunkam
Control te ni longo ale. Tandi jibcha shiwich ta shia yo mare ta londe control te shichimbo londe ta konsa chokonam gitni jigdo. Tani stata zo no ni chata zo gi ton ya po mare tani londe to zo shichimbo pare woni tani kange mombo chegndo aze konsa choko kalum no tani songdo. Tani stata zo control shichimbo lona stata chata zo ya po magi tani londe zo lonkam ta zo manyum ba chandro tani yesaro.
Yes, so there is no like very very exact explanation for this question about like why is it affected by anger, why the wind element is affected by anger. But as His Holiness the Dalai Lama like says a lot of times, so when we get very very angry, so the different veins in our body, like the blood in our body, the channels in our body, so they become unbalanced, and the way that the blood and the wind and so forth like circulates in these vessels, like it becomes like not proportional, not even not balanced. So this is the way that in general like it affects this the element of wind. And it lunkam serete kare?
Lonkam ziyate ta di kable lonkam ziyate gomja kaptere jeta zeinda chukti nang lonkam se. Ta ten chibare nga zo zupo nang londre ta osenji ro. Te sawlo tango re zupo le peno che de lonji yora. What is tere lonkam da?
Yeah, so what we need to think about this wind element, we need to think about it as the oxygen that we have in our body, like that kind of nurtures the body, or like sometimes harms the body. Like this is what we need to think, like in terms of the wind element in our body. Yes. Any other questions you have?
What can you do when the winds are so stirred up that you try to do the breathing meditation and it just will not work?
Ani te kelsi so sukola yopete lung tetso te chaminyopo hachangi chaminyopo shigyukna ani te so yante ugjong gomatubna te kengi ugjong gomatubna karechego
Gomatawa ayona ta te yakwaza hakosama peti kangishu chani gomja matona zegora.
Like you mean like when you have like a serious problem and then like you're not able to meditate? This is what you mean?
Yeah, well, like this morning, so I don't know if it's because I drank a lot of tea, but it was just like crazy winds, and I tried breathing meditation and nothing would work, and so I just had to stop and come back to it a half hour later. But if there any other technique when you're trying breathing and you still feel all that agitation
When you're
in your winds, yeah.
Is there any other technique that, sorry, I didn't get the
Any
last
other
part?
technique besides breathing, or did I do the right thing by just stopping and coming back to it later?
Any other technique for, like you mean like to balance the wind in your body? This is what you mean?
You're trying, when you know they're imbalanced, like there's a whole bunch of agitation, so you feel the imbalance, and you try the breathing meditations, and it doesn't work.
Okay.
Like I couldn't even do the first one, I couldn't even count, it was so worked up.
Ani te perna ni shokpate kon yarlangna ani te chicha ani kon te chamangpo tume kengi ani kongi supana long te so te hachangi minyo chaminyopa chaksa ani te kon te jela te ugjo te gomta chenan te pentok yomare pentok masan ser son ani te mainpa perna ugjo mainpa ani te shenpa te naso suppuenano la long te chanyampo.
Zo.
So ela te tapshe shenpa yorpe sersunsa.
Ta tendi national katig jamba tanda zu te amtot zo le ju jong kom shaw ya chi mung jamba chiran tong ma song te girden gtandri te tendi kangen le sarti gom ja gona che gona kar che gona te skalindo zu tanga zo semba ma ke pu tonda yora temo che sangir chi na semba ma ke wa to zo le pa jang rang che gor ta yo mare tani katina semba lolo shu china mato tez kali kapunga sona tenda wina tez chiponda uzonda ora so semba makiwa chala karina tele jan rans chetwa kechembur
Gyara.
tate mata pena sanjin ro so nyemndo ya sanjin ro ina manye chumchi kichi nyotan ro chi so semba makiwa ina tele jan chetsi chini tani tapshi cheta ya chingdoa ngotse so
Good something.
countries lab
Perché si temperna sangyola tami doya ni tela.
tanga so semba makiwa tonda karli ina jan che gore trogore tal trogore
Trola.
trozena te macheni ta
Allora,
na
sola.
machia ta tandri rigla beso che dani semba lolonda o tandri chena mato te kale kabore ta jamba nachu nani tandri gomjam ne gomjam mathoya tandri chasona tandri che shozya tandri tanga ngi ching thoma zona na ge tandri kalenchena semba machi ga chala karina te si jam pieni lolo che to ta ko ata te jamban ro te so le samlo ta chamse te le samlo ta na so semba lolo shu peng da tandri ram ka ko mundu
Yes, so in general, like about like for the kind of conceptual mind that we have, like or like the excessive thought, like the not excessive thought, but the conceptual mind, overthinking, discursive thought, and so forth. So I don't know any other type of meditation. Like in the Buddhist scriptures, there is nothing that is particularly written. But in general, so if there is something, there is particularly thing that kind of makes us unhappy or like our mind like not happy, so we can just kind of put it aside. For example, like if it's like we don't like to watch news, like so we can just not be in contact with it like at the moment, like that particular thing that make us like feeling unhappy. And also another thing that can really help is meditating upon love and compassion in general.
tani tan na chu na le jamba tandri ta sem shu tandri che de na ya chi che chi le chu che an jo so nga sa an ro ta cha ko ra che an ro ta ni la man ji an ro ta te ya chu lu kana te chi yo na so katik ta tal ndewa chi me nyo go zo ro chi la so sa na ya sem ka ma jo tandri ya ke cha chi yo tandri ta che na ya peng gu tandri nga so gomba ta so na de ngoni pe nyen ri chi yo ta ko ran ro chi chan ro bi ya tanda ngon ro sa ni yarum bo che ta son ji kan ran ro tandri che ni nga ro son de che yo ra so an ra ta tandri che na chi na ya nge wa shi un ra sigre.
Yes, and also other like kind of methods that can help is like kind of what we say accumulating the gathering the accumulation of merit, which like part of it like can be things just as like doing Korah, like accumulating mantras, like reciting mantras, meeting like spiritual teacher, yeah, like prostrating, like all these different kind of things that are like considered to be like virtuous activities. So it also like can help like the mental state of ours. So also like because like I've been in the monastery, so it's very very beneficial like for months like us like that we are like we've been in the monastery, so we have like all these different kind of opportunities to do these things.
Na so the chulu kangali injere jamba tali yo jere kangin chena ta koncho ta so so ndep cha the chulu samali yo ranga so le yo re nombali ya te yo re la yo pa maze kashi la hansa pe to aten riandu.
Yes, and also this is something which is common to all different kind of religions, like to pray to God or like whatever object that one has faith towards. So yes, like this kind of prayers and so forth. So sometimes it has like very very great benefit.
Asa tene chiri.
Yes, if you have like any other question, like with regards to the topic or any other topic.
I have one more question. You talk about the six elements and the hospital example is a good example. In the Buddhism, what is the, like if you can exchange your shirt, your flesh, your everything and you would do it, what's the only thing you cannot exchange, and how do you define that in this religion?
אני כרגע te peshik shasam te menkan la dona ani te soso te gelogab goyona ani gelogab girerva ani te keran te peshik shasam ani te nakpen uneshena perna te jepo gap mitupa like the eye that eventually cannot be replaced, right? The jepo gap mitupe dagte te nakpen uneshena te krere.
O ta je bo jam to dag zia te chwa pe mse ya pochon ste che
Very good.
dra jam to dag ze dia te kar se ko tinga so go nak to ngolen charwa cham ng me ze wor phombo nga tan da kam trik te tsundi pa la te ni nak to ngol dag zia chi char yong gore te cham re se phombo nga ndi on di ta chi yo de ni ko so ka char son na yo dag te che ze gore zu samara ki tel te ni tak pa to pi tak cham ze dia te so te lab de wor jebo jab ke me sa da chi yore weze na yores ina yo sona ti pombo ngal tende ni pombo na kam trik tel tende ni tel yo chi khatra ta me ni da tel khatra tar yore tel khatra na da shin ro tani nga shin ro ra ni pombo shin kam trik ta khatra sona nga shin ro re kan tar ta yo mari ti trik ta re yo mari ti li lo sa ga yan chi shira chi li yo mar tanda Serupag Shibaza Talapag Nibari Sendo. Then now you come to Dipi Niban or Chimangazia Pates on Arakayomar. Come to Sunduba Latini, Nubachi Joanna Jimatongaziat, Sina Rakayomar, Sonsa Dames in Nambag, Tanda Dames e Tombanizeti at Tela de Zetopi, Pates on Arandro, Najim Mandus. So Dibalatini Tapan Chiris. Racheto Sari. Yeah,
Okay, it's really difficult also for me, like not very understand like this kind of topic very well to translate it also very well, but I'll try my best. So basically, like the thing, like that I that we say, like from the Buddhist perspective, there is I, like the I that we can say that that cannot be replaced eventually. This is like what we say, the merely designated I based upon the 6 elements. So like the 5 aggregates, we can say also like this. So this is the I that it is there, like, but there is no, like when we say like when we say about like selflessness or like emptiness, we say that there is no I that is, we can say that is different from the aggregates, that is not none of the aggregates or like none of the different elements that we have, that there is I that is separated from these kind of elements of the body, that is not them, that there is I that is just standard. So there's no I like this, and there's also like no I that we can search in the different types of elements in our body and say like, this is me, and so forth. This is also kind of similar to what the scientists assert these days, that there is like some kind of power or like capacity to
Serba Chicken Dong and the Peja in the Matong Lepini Padari Zemenda, Serba Chena Shibazia, the Lapi Nipando Chirelani, Tenishendo, Tenajanazo, Dazia, the Pompos Sopa Latini Nipando Chitinichimato, Patina Manipachi Jadi, Tateltini Tapas in Itania to take Yaror. Patetina Cosos and Dipalatini Chumjondo, Nipando Chindron Mugayomar.
Yes, so, yes, the I that we say is that this one who is kind of being imputed based on the different elements and the aggregates that constitute it. Like based on the different elements, sorry. There is that I that is being designated by conceptual thought, like that is the I that eventually cannot be replaced. But there is no I that is different from these elements, and there is no I that is each one of these elements.
So much a dombat in Toyon and make a dombat in Toyon, the Nikonton on Lagroa. In a parties on a dombat Corre de Omarta, Tenton Latini Koja or Latini National, Daj Dachuziachi or Tatikitano Mena Yert, Daj Dachuconio. Daj Dachu, dombat and eat Dajerit, dombat ton Latini, Antons on Lagareta, dombat and Harry de Omar, Tendido Chichini, Taxe de Atendishore.
Yes, and also like what do we mean like by saying imputed, like the I that is being imputed upon these 6 elements or 5 aggregates and so forth. So we can say that is similar to, for example, when I see you, so I see your face and then I point at you and then I say, I say it's you, right? Like say this is you. But if I look in your face and then I try to find like this is you, this is you, this is you, there's nothing that I can find and say like this is actually you, right? So this is kind of the same thing. So when we say there is like two terms that are called the base of imputation and the phenomena that is being imputed or like labeled. So the basis of imputation, we can say that this is your face, for example. This is the basis of imputation when I look at you and say like this is you. And אני דאג שהיא קונגיפטרנה דומבה.
domba te daje chawre te thwal te ning konton son lagre te chama to khoe che o mare ina domba te ne khore de o mare te topi ta sam ze de o.
Yes. So the basis of imputation, we can say that this is you. Like, sorry, the basis of imputation, we can say like this is your face. Like I see your face and then I say this is you. This is the basis of imputation of the self, of yourself, for example. But if I really look inside, there is nothing that I can find and say like, this is you, of course. If I really examine and
Resoi.
okay, any other thing?
Shamba trayo.
If you have any other question with regards to the topic or any other different kind of question?
Chatol is leon kozol.
Yes, also like those who are online, if you have question, you can write on the chat or open the mic.
I have, but if someone else has, so
It doesn't seem like someone else have now, so you can ask.
just a small question. First, you said that when you said overthinking, you said conceptual mind. So why you use the term conceptual mind?
Okay.
Because it's like imagining. So it's not directly you're using your imagination. So that's why it's conceptual thinking.
Okay, so I'll say at first that there is like one term in Tibetan that I translated into two terms in order like to explain it a bit better, like conceptual mind and overthinking. But now I'll ask like more specifically when you say like why like overthinking is conceptual, right? Like this is the meaning of the question, right?
I'm not sure I understood what you said.
Like you say like why overthinking? Like why is the overthinking is conceptual, right? This is what you're trying to ask? Because like is it imagining? Like this is the reason that overthinking is necessarily like conceptual? This is the question.
Yeah.
אני נמתוק סרטן נת אינג'יטון נת תניה נימי ג'רנה תגירוין.
Ale.
תצ'יקת נמתוק טרן תוק פג'פו. אני שם פתת תשם לו תניה מנטג. תנדה ג'פו נגיור. תאינג'יטון נת תניה שם פתת ינגיור. אני תקרת שנת שם לו תניה מנטג יתה. תקרת שנת תוק בקיוגירה. te gyunsen karere te tokbe kyogire te pernat charna in pe gyunsen tu chene te tokpare te karachene sano mantaga te tokpa in pe kyogire.
Ale te na to ngonze che shoze gore. Na to kar la gore se inda.
Tende japo te ganisa pena inchi tongne te nishikta te sano mantaga. Ani te karachene sano mantaga te inching michik tokpa in gore. Te kongitio.
Tangi ya potio at ngot sama sonda. Karser.
Rato te tanro toka.
Toba te kar paso. Toba zeat kare toba mantra te kar jekin kar la gore. Topi ngote toba zena kar la gore te che. That you I think ngot sama.
Like you say like why like thinking too much is conceptual. This is the question, right? Hello?
Understand what when you say conceptual, what do you mean?
Okay. Ani tok pengo te kare.
Ale topi ngote ta ketoni ta chi ketang ga savlo ta rare. Ina tanda nga su kapsa papi toba zeat savlo ma chani tonda mesale chi kangi mombo chi le dia ga na to chi ora. O te ze gore mo ketoni nga su savlo rare toba ze dia te ketan kap chimbo chi na chu na china. Ki chani toba savlo kap chimbo. Ina na to ze ni tanda nga su godia na to ze ate sim kangi chi dia ram re chen dia chi do. O te la ur.
Yes, okay. So in general the essence of like conceptual thought is just like thinking. Like this is like what we mean by saying like conceptual thought. But there is also another term in Tibetan which is called namtok, which is more particularly like it kind of indicates conceptual thought, like by thinking about things that don't have any like big meaning or like not so important, and we think about it excessively, and eventually they only like bring us problem. Like there are like these different types, like more particular type like that we try to explain this lesson is like the type which is more like kind of brings us more problem, just like thinking about things that are not important and thinking about them excessively and overthinking. So
Reje na ki tong chi na ngosum da topa yo ake lori ta sara. Ngosum da topa ni ng topa sama le nam to lab jan ndu den ku. Ngosum da topa ni na ni topa zia chi yo. Te sama le nam to ko ta nyen chi kre ta da nga ni sia ta tin ji topa nda ma da ka ngi te dia topa chi ore ta chi che me o mu che me o sam ni mi nga le jab shi ja wo chi nga ka shin do na chen sen te so zan ro re sa jen de ni do nda ma da ton da men jo sam lu mo bo chin ko dia ten go I tablam re ta da ta.
yes, so what we explained this lesson is about that kind of conceptual thinking, the think about all this thing of, oh, he said like that, he talked about me like that, I will do like this, like think about things that are not so important. So, and also like about the method of kind of eliminating this kind of conceptual thinking, this type of conceptual thinking, this what we talked about.
As tuchi.
Okay, thank you. Any other question about the topic or any other thing?
Me zero ta me na ja ja kire ro.
Okay, so most
Me
probably.
na ja ka inda.
Okay, so we'll pop it off now if there is no other question.
I have. Can I ask questions after the lesson?
The Zindatolu Telecom, the Kati,
Ndri
This is a first.
ja. Ani ja ja ro.
Okay, so we'll start the lesson now.
Tebo.
Okay.
Dele.
Yeah,
Yeah,
goodbye.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you for the teaching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Ko katile lesh. Jennifer Lara.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Dele.